Hello everybody, my name is RoboPirate Foxy and welcome back. So, today, you may notice we're doing something a little different, and well, I had a thought the other day. I was like, man, I really want to have a jukebox player in Minecraft that I don't have to interact with. You know, something fancy, redstone-y. The jukebox equivalent to an automatic piston door. You know, instead of just having a basic wood door to open, you have an automatic fancy door that's big and looks cool. And I looked it up to see if anyone had made anything, and while there are definitely a few, there wasn't anything that fit my specific niche. So, I've come up with a few designs today that I think are pretty cool, and I want to show them off. And we'll be going from most basic to most hard, so yeah. And then, for the first one, it's about as simple as you can get. I made it look pretty, of course. It looks like a record player, you know, an old jukebox in a diner. But it's just this. So you just take the song you want, and you throw it in the music disc player. Can't be any more where did it put my disc? What? It ate my disc. The Minecraft... Oh, there it is. So it's literally cannot be simpler than this. So we'll hop right into the next one, which is something that automatically puts it on loop. So there's really no way to turn it off or on. You just gotta come back here and throw the music disc into the jukebox. So we're gonna wait here for the song, but it'll loop around and automatically go back through. Okay, so we're at the end of the song, and you're gonna see it immediately goes right back. Okay. Okay, there's a few seconds of dead space at the end I forgot about, apparently. And there we go. So, as you can see, it looped back through. And if you're curious what's happening, so jukeboxes actually, while they have a song in them, give off a redstone signal. And that locks the hoppers. So the hopper won't drop it. But then the second the song ends, or the jukebox doesn't have a disc in it, it stops emitting a redstone signal. Once the song ends, the music disc will fall into this hopper, activating this comparator, which then activates this redstone, and then activates this repeater. You may be wondering why it's 4 ticks, just because if it was 1 tick, it would be too slow. So I just made it 4 ticks, because it would go too fast, and then the music disc wouldn't be out of the hopper by the time this goes. And then using the power of quasi-connectivity, it goes from this dropper to this dropper, these are both droppers, back into here, and then into the system again. And actually, you can make this kind of a randomizer too. I'm just going to pull 2 random music discs. Oh, I already had some in there, never mind. I just got really lucky to get Creator when I started it. But I'm going to kind of simulate it just because I don't want to wait for another song to end. But let's say I throw Creator in there. As you can see, I got a different song. And the same thing would happen. It would just throw out a random disc. And there you go. That's kind of it. And see, it even went back in there and it shot another one up. It happened to be Creator again. That's kind of it for that one. It's not very hard. This one is great, but it has a few issues. One, if you walk away and come back, you're just going to be in the middle of a different or the same song, but just in the middle of it. You don't want to come in to the middle of the song. That's not very fun. So, for the next one, I made it activate with skulk sensor. So it always turns on the second you enter the room. And again, it follows the same exact principles as the other one. I only have 1 music disc in here for my example, but you could throw in any amount in here, and every time you walk through the door, a different song would start. And it's quite simple. This one's even easier than that was. It's just 3 skulk sensors. You could probably get away with 1. I just did 3 to make sure every time you entered the door, it would activate. And then 3 comparators into some redstone, which then goes into a repeater to strengthen the signal. And then boom, all the way over here, and it just activates the dropper. It works as the same thing, just quasi-connectivity makes these 2 fire, and that's it. And I really like this one, honestly. I really like the idea of music just starting when you walk into a room. Okay, that was just a natural sound. I thought it activated. But, and again, I don't have much more to say about it. It is really the simplest one here, because there's no, like, repeating redstone and you have to watch your shape. You could physically put this one anywhere. Like, a few of these are based on the space I built them into, which means if you're not the most redstone savvy and you're watching this, you might have a hard time changing it around. But this one you could put anywhere. The only thing that matters is this core setup of jukebox, hopper, 2 dispensers that aim upward, and then a hopper pointing into another hopper pointing into the jukebox. And then this can even activate it from any side. If you want it here or here, you can activate it from there. You can't put it here, sadly, but that's because the hopper's in the way, which there's nothing you can do about that. But, and while I like this one, it's easily my favorite, I think it's missing a crucial feature. It can't really turn off and on, and you can't skip. So, here's the third design, which you just come over here and flick this lever. The redstone lamp means it's on. It even starts a song. But, Precipice isn't my favorite. I'm gonna skip it. And now it's Chirp, but it's like, oh, I kind of wanted a new song. I'm tired of Chirp. And there you go. And then, if you want to turn it off, it's a bit weird, but you flick the lever, and the song will keep playing, and it'll work just like the last one, where once the song stops, it's over. Or, you can press the skip button again, and then it's off. Completely. So, the redstone on this one is a bit more complicated, but I do want to mention it just looks a little insane because I tried to compact it as most as possible. Over here, where I was designing a few of these, it still looks like a jumbled mess over here, but it's kind of easier to digest just because the pieces are farther apart. So, maybe not now that I look at it, but it might be. Over here, though, I color-coded it into 3 separate systems. So you have the skip button, which is the easiest. It's just a redstone line coming out of the button to over here into the block that starts the clock. Or starts the machine, I should say. And then over here, you have the on switch, which is just coming through here. It comes down here and activates this piston that extends this block to complete this circuit, which allows every time it detects a signal from this hopper to reactivate this, start this, shoot another music disc in there. And then this piston setup right here is just to kickstart the machine. It needs to have an input to start, which is why this is on 4 ticks, so it's just slower than that part. 2 and 3 ticks, I found sometimes it still wouldn't be fast enough because of the lag or something. So 4 ticks, just make sure it works every single time. And then the blue part, the light blue part, is the main system. So there's not much different, believe it or not, than these two. It looks a lot more complicated. But as I mentioned, jukeboxes give off a redstone signal, so it locks the hopper underneath those. So we can't use a hopper to remove the music disc whenever we want. So instead, we use a hopper minecart. I know, crazy other option to pick, like the only other option. But it kind of works like this. So I don't know if you knew this, but when you have an activator rail powered, hopper minecarts can't go. I didn't actually know that till, well, I mean, I knew it, but I didn't learn that till I started making hopper unloaders and stuff. Like, I kind of, this entire part where the hopper minecart is basically stolen from a hopper minecart loader for, like, super smelters and stuff. There's a few changes that make it work. Like, instead of just having a glass pane be a flat block, it has to be connected to something. In this case, it's connected to 2 items, but you only need a connection just to make it a bigger block. I also found out you can use fences for this, but walls are too big, chains are too small, so you can't use that. But if you don't want to use a glass pane here, you can use a fence. I just used the glass pane because it fits thematically. So, what happens though is the hopper minecart, whenever the activator rails are not powered, it takes the music disc out and puts it right into this hopper, which then puts it into here, which is basically the same system as over here. You just have to add a dropper because it has to go a block lower, which is why you have this instead of quasi-connectivity powering these. You just have an observer tower. The same system up here, 2 droppers into here, into the jukebox, but you actually use the redstone signal that the jukebox displays. So it pushes it into this block, which can be any block. I just made it the wall block in this case. And then puts it into this repeater just to make this one not fire. And what it does is it deactivates this redstone torch to then let this redstone torch be activated, and thus turning on the powered rails so the music disc can't go through. Now you may be wondering why this is here too. You can only let the activator rails be off for a second, or else it'll just funnel through music discs like crazy. So what this does is when this gets activated by by this system. So when it senses a music disc, it gets activated, it shoots a new disc out, but it also turns on this pulse extender to turn on the activator rails so the music disc just doesn't fall through. So once it starts playing, the jukebox will then activate, thus sending out a redstone signal, thus powering this little thing, which then uses the power of music to keep the activator rails on. So this doesn't need to be on constantly, but just on for a few seconds to allow for the activator rails for this system to kick in. Now, normally you don't need something like this, but there's no reason to make it any shorter just because it doesn't matter. There's no song that is less than 10 seconds. So, we are now going on to this final part here where I am going to show you how to build basically a combination of all three of these systems. And as you can tell in this chest, this is all the materials you will need. But there are some crucial changes that need to be made. But before we even get onto this, I want to go back to the looping system and just add an on-off button, because I feel like some people are going to want that, and it's incredibly easy. So you'll just grab a sticky piston, a lever, and you're going to want to come back here because that's where everything is. You might not need to do this, but you are then going to want to break down a few blocks. Want to put it here. Going to want to break some of the blocks here. You 2 redstone dust, grab back your floor, throw a lever right there, and there you go. Now, of course, this is kind of a band-aid fix, but this solution really hinges on where your wall is. So let's just say, now that you're back here, we'll make sure this is on. You have your system on. Let's just say I throw in Relic. You're then going to want to come over here. Go, oh, I'm leaving my base. I don't want the next song to start. You flick that lever, opening that. Then come back here. I'm going to grab Relic. Oh, it even grabbed it itself, but just to show you because I wasn't watching. To grab Relic, throw it in there. You see it activate, but it shot nothing up because the signal couldn't be completed. So, I know it's kind of a quick band-aid fix, but a solution like that works entirely on where your wall is. So, I just did it like that for mine, but you may want to do something a bit more complicated for yours, but you get the gist, which is what that's meant to show you. Back over to this block-by-block tutorial, though, you may notice there are a few changes. I want to explain one more thing, which is just, this is a black stained glass, and all this wool is just used to color code the systems, but I just want to say you can replace them for any solid block, and this black stained glass can be any type of glass pane or any fence. It cannot be a wall, and it cannot be a chain. It needs to be a fence or a glass pane. The choice is yours, but I wanted to make that clear. But then next for the crucial changes. One is, instead of a lever for on and off, it became a T flip-flop, because to make this work where you can have a walk-in sensor, it needed to be a T flip-flop so it could be activated by a redstone pulse but act like a lever, because, you know, the whole point is meant to be automatic. So, other than that, there's just this red wool block in the main system, just because it's a crucial part to the main system, but it's technically part of the turn off and on system. I'm just going to hop right into it, though. So we're going to start with the jukebox right here, and then a hopper going into that, and then a hopper going into that hopper. And then instead of placing a hopper on the bottom, we are going to place a block here. Or, no, we're not. We're going to place a block here. You might have to add an extra building block. We're then going to place our first dropper, like so, and then the other two. And then we're going to put a hopper going into that, and then another hopper going into here. And then finally, you're going to want one more light blue wool block here. You're then going to grab your activator rails, and starting with this middle block, you're going to place one here, here. You're then going to break whatever block you have here, and if you don't have one, don't worry about it, and then place one here. Now, this isn't going to stay here. You're going to break it, and there you go. Then you're going to pick up that last activator rail and place it there. Now you're going to take your black stained glass and place it here. Now, I do want to mention, this will be whatever block you're using. I did make it a light blue wool in our system. But you're going to want to place a block there, so that way it has like that middle pane thing. You can see it right there. Same thing for a fence. It needs to be connected to an adjacent wall, not to the opposite. Even though these two were connected, it would not have stopped the hopper minecart. So finally, you're going to want to place the hopper minecart and let it roll forward if it can. If it doesn't, that is fine. But then you're going to want to break the jukebox. It'll catch itself there, and then you're going to want to replace the jukebox. And that's basically it for the rail system. You're done there. You're now going to place an observer here, and then you're going to want to place the one on the back up like so, and then you're going to want to place another one on top of it. You're then going to break this one and flip it around so they're both facing this way into the observers. Then next, you want to grab a piece of wool, place a block here, and then place another one right there with a redstone dust on it. You're then going to extend this out by one and place one here and here. You're then going to take one of your comparators and then one of your repeaters and place them there. Now, this is where this red wool comes in. And where you place it right now depends on what system you're doing. So if you're building this without an on and off, like you just want the skip button, you'll place it right here. But if you do want the on and off button, you're going to want to place it down there. It's a very minimal change, but it just depends with what you're going for. So, next you're going to place another redstone dust right here. You are then going to want to put a block there. You're then going to want to place a repeater here. And then from this wool block you have right here, you're going to want to build this little island thing going out with one floating block right there. You're then going to want to take your last two comparators and put them there and there. And now you're done with comparators. So, you want to take some redstone, place it like so. You're then going to want to place a wool block there. Make a little line, connect to the corner, and then connect it up to the comparator rails. Very crucially, a repeater right here. Now that you've done that, you're going to want to place a block here, here, and here. You want to take your repeater, place it here. Going into another repeater, into a dust. And then hanging off that dust on this side, facing outward, you're going to want to put a redstone torch, which will then going to want to put blocks here and here with a repeater on the end, going into a block and then into another redstone torch. And there you are. This is the entire main system right there. You're basically it. If you wanted just something that loops over and over again, this would work. Now, of course, you're going to want to do the cheaper option over there if you just want that. And if you just want the on and off button, you're going to want to also add what I showed you over there. But if you want the skip button, which is the easiest system we'll be doing today, and what we're doing next, I'm going to show you that right now. So to begin with, you don't need this sign, but I like having it. Just putting the word skip on it. There you are. Place your polished deep slate, your stone button. You're going to want to come back here. Orange wool here. You're going to want to come down here. Have an orange wool there, 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 and there. You're going to make sure you slip your one repeater in right there, just so when this repeater powers this block, it doesn't power the whole system. You're going to want to fill in with redstone, and that's it. That is your skip button. As simple as that. We are now on to the next and second hardest system, which is going to be the on and off system. You will need all the parts listed here. And you may have noticed, I'll make sure I add text for this, but I have 2 buttons instead of 1. You need 1 junk item. I forgot to put it in that chest, but I will put text on screen when I do it. But just make sure that you have 1 junk item laying around. Doesn't matter what, you can pick whatever. So next is the polished deep slate into a button like so. Once you have this polished deep slate in, you're going to want to place a line of 2 red wool with a redstone dust and a repeater right on top of it. We're then going to want to take one of these droppers, place it like this. Now, the direction of this next dropper doesn't matter, but I just like placing it downward. And then you're going to want to place 1 dropper right here, facing upward. We're then going to want to put the hopper you have and put it from this dropper into this one. Then you're going to want to take your extra item, in my case a button, and throw it right in there. And with that, you're done with your droppers, and your hoppers, and your buttons, and the polished deep slate. Get rid of that. So from here, you're going to want to take a redstone line, put it right here, comparator right into that. So you're going to want to put this comparator right into this block. So you're going to take a sticky piston and place it going into this wool. You are then going to want to build a staircase going downward like so. Then you want to have a repeater right here just to strengthen the signal. Go downward, down, 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 boom. And then right into a repeater at 0 ticks. You're then going to want to make another redstone line coming up like this. Just over here. Have a sharp turn. You want to place a sticky piston here with a wool on top. Redstone dust going into that. A wool block here. And then a repeater at 4 ticks. Now, technically, you're done right here. The on-off system is complete, but I still really want to have a redstone lamp to indicate it's on. So you're going to want to take your redstone lamp and place it right there. You're then going to want to take a red wool block and place it here with a repeater going into a block with a redstone dust on top. That way, when you turn on this system, boom, that light goes on. And then when you turn it off, boom, that light goes off. I just like having the visual indicator, but you don't technically need it. Now, we are on to the hardest system, or well, the second easiest, not the hardest. It's so scary because you have to get Skulk. That's the hard part. It's going to be very simple, though. You're going to want to dig out a 3 deep hole like so. You want to place wool on the bottom. 3 Skulk sensors. Now, I did say this, but I did lie. There is actually one part that's crucial that is wool, which is the Skulk. You need wool to keep this from activating. You don't technically need it, but if you're walking around without the wool, you may just be like walking over here and you walk over and activate it. You don't want that. So once you have all the wool here, you are then going to want to take your redstone comparators and place them like that. Then you're going to want to place 3 redstone like this going into a repeater. Then you're going to place 4. Now, I will say here as well, the distance from your door to where you built the jukebox does matter. So be prepared to bring extra repeaters and redstone dust. But you're going to want to build about 4 blocks with my design. Then you're going to want to go left and then down 1 and 2. You're going to want to then fill that all in with dust. You're then going to want to take another lime wool, place a redstone torch on top, place 1 there, and there you go. Now the reason you do that is because you have to activate this T flip-flop, which is why there's even a redstone dust here in the first place. So as you can see, when I placed the torch, it did. But then, if I were to walk back out of the building, it turned off. And then I walk back through, it turns on. Walk back out, it turns off. Now, of course, it doesn't immediately end the song, but that way, if you're in the area and the song continues playing, it stops right there. So, with that, that's the system. You are done. That is your automatic jukebox player that starts when you get into the distance. It has a skip button and an on and off button. So now we'll take our music discs just to show you. I'm just going to grab 9 random ones. But you can use whatever you want. But here are 9 music discs. This will actually work completely. So we turn it on. There we go. It turned on. Relic. I don't want Relic. Even though it's really good. Skip it. There we go. Only did once. Now Pig Step's on. Oh, I don't want Pig Step. Oh, Ward. That's it. I'm out of here. And boom. It turns off. That's basically it. You now have every feature in one. You have automatic turn on. It loops on its own if you don't touch it. And you can turn it off. And you can skip. I don't got anything else to say about it. I'm really proud of this. This did everything I wanted it to. But you may have noticed this in the corner, or in the background of a few shots. Well, my original idea was not something like this. I originally wanted something that can play every single disc in Minecraft without having that 9 block limit of 1 dispenser, or 9 disc limit of 1 dispenser. But it was really hard. Originally, I was going to use lecterns, and that ended up not working. So I said, fine, I at least want there to be 9 buttons so that I can at least pick the song instead of it being random. That's the right natural step, right? From being able to skip till you get a song you want to hear, you get to pick it. So I've created this monstrosity and created this other monstrosity as a way to have 9 buttons next to each other like that without the signal overlapping. So this is unoptimized. Unlike this and this, where I rebuilt it a few times just to squeeze it down, this is exactly the same over there as it is right here. I really didn't want to edit this down anymore because it was just such a pain. One, it's super expensive. I mean, what, 10 diamonds isn't really that much at the grand scheme of things, but, like, it's a lot more expensive than the 1 you'd put into these. And then 2, it's, unless you know what the buttons mean, which means I need another lector, you don't know what you're pressing, right? You gonna play there? Okay, well, copying it over here, I messed something up, but that should have worked. Oh, there we are. Yeah, I sure wonder what happened down here. But there's a few flaws with this system. One is it doesn't loop, which is fine. If you were selecting it, I was okay to give up that ability. But one is it's impossible to stop. Like, this system lets you stop a song midway through if you don't want to listen to a song when you come in. But this one, on the other hand, you can't. You are forced to listen to the whole song. Two, it's just really stupid. Like, I'd rather just skip till I get the one that I'm feeling right now instead of clicking, oh, let me click this. And then I have to wait for, and then I go, oh, I don't really want to listen to Crater. So I can wait, or I can do this. Which now they're just looping over each other. It was a cool concept for sure. And I clearly didn't get what I wanted. I mean, I kind of did. This isn't really that bad for an attempt. But I kind of gave up on this design. I still wanted to include it, though, because I had a working prototype. And I think it could be cool. It just kind of isn't. So if you guys want a full video on this where I actually optimize it and make one that's not so weird, because not that it matters too much, music jukeboxes have a way wider range than I thought they did, which is really cool. But I'd ideally like you to select the disc, it then would bring itself up here and then go into this jukebox. And then somehow sort itself backwards without, like, allays or something making it annoying. Like having sounds constantly. So I think when the copper golems get added, it could be really cool, actually. But that's just my prototype I wanted to show off. I think the more impressive thing is I made a 9-face button inner plate that technically works. Like, all of these could be taken into just a redstone signal. I just used observers up here because I didn't have a room. But this could have gone into a redstone signal. So I'm more impressed that I made a 9-button interface that all does its own thing. So that's it for this video, though. I hope you enjoy this one, as this one's a lot more put together. And thank you so much for watching. And please like and subscribe. I do Minecraft content. You know, believe it or not, Minecraft content. And,